Welcome back to the channel. My name's Adam Smith, and inside this GameFound preview series, really excited to be showing you guys Reichbusters Reloaded. This is coming from Monolith, and it's landing on GameFound in the very near future. I'll have the exact date as well as the link to the campaign page in the pinned comment and video description. And if you haven't checked out my prototype unboxing already, I recommend you do, as you may not see all of the components that came as part of the demo kit, but that video will show you all of it. It'll be in the top right-hand corner right now. Now, the purpose of this video is to show you all the steps necessary to get this game to the table, and it's worth mentioning to play this game comfortably in solo capacity, controlling 4 characters, which is what you will have to do when playing solo. You'll need a space that's about 3 by 4. So join me as we dive into the steps of setup together, and when this concludes, there'll be a follow-up video diving into gameplay to help you make an informed decision as to whether or not this game is for you. In this game, you'll be playing larger-than-life allied heroes in intense 2-phase missions against a Third Reich. Aided by the strangest and most dangerous technology, you're going to be infiltrating the heart of the danger before alarm reinforcements overwhelm you. As most of you that watched the prototype unboxing saw, there was 2 missions inside the demo kit, and I'm going after Mission 0A, the Abode of Horror. Now, in the future, when we get into gameplay, we'll be going over the narrative flavor text at the very top to understand what's going on for this mission, the objectives, the special rules, and of course, the important piece right now in the how to setup video is around the heroes, the setup, the additional loot cards you can see there, as well as area accessory cards. So grabbing all the things necessary to get set up for this mission, I've done. Now, just before I go any further with the battle plan, I do want to mention that everything you're about to see inside this video is prototype and subject to change. So on the back side of the mission, you've got the battle plan, which is visually laying out the entirety of the environment tiles you'll need to set up, as well as the things on them. For now, we're just focusing on the tiles themselves, which I've already placed out. I've gone ahead and set up the map as instructed from the battle plan, and it's worth mentioning each one of the tiles are double-sided. They also have markings on them, a numerical value as well as an alphabetical value that will help you to determine which tile side you need, and of course you'll use the battle plan in terms of the orientation of the tiles. Next, we'll place the watchtowers for this mission, and we have 3 of them. One here, here, and here. You'll notice there's a couple tiles for each of them. Now, the ground floor is what's known as the environment tiles. So when we set up the major tiles, that's the ground floor. The next tile up from that is the base, and the one up from that is the platform for the watchtowers. Now, what's awesome with the watchtowers is they will actually rise up and have a 3D-like effect on the game board once we set them up fully. But for now, we'll keep them down as I put the rest of the components out, and we'll come back around when we place some enemies and we'll build them up. Step number 2 is the mission tracker, which I've already placed out here. At this point, we're going to place the tracker token, discretion token, and endgame token based on the mission briefing. That's all there is to it. The 3 tokens have been placed. On the far left, we have the mission token. In the center, we have the discretion token. And the final one on the far right with the skull is the endgame token. Based on the mission you chose, you're going to find the mission card. So in my case, the Abode of Horror. It's a double-sided card here that has information about the enemies on one side and the opposite side, all about the available heroes. That's step number 3. Step number 4 is to take the enemy cards for each type of enemy mentioned on the mission card. So for this mission, I'm going to be dealing with officers, dogs, soldiers, and a number of other enemy types. With the mission card and enemy cards within easy reach to reference as we go through gameplay, we now move on to step number 5, which is taking all the miniatures, and you take all quantities of each enemy type and place them nearby. I placed all the miniatures in rows and columns to keep things organized for when I need specific types of enemies during gameplay. And that also includes this monstrosity. Step number 6 is all about the reinforcement cards. We're going to take that deck and shuffle them and place them within easy reach. This is the reinforcement deck that has now been shuffled. Step number 7 is the wound deck. Here's what the deck looks like. I've given it a shuffle and I'll place it right next to the reinforcements deck. Step number 8 is all about building out the loot deck. You're going to find a specific icon on some of the loot cards, and that's going to tell you that it's a basic loot card. The loot cards look like this, and when you flip them over to the opposite side, you're going to notice an icon in the bottom left-hand corner. As long as you see that icon, you know you've got all the basic loot cards. So place that deck with those icons off to the side for a second, and you're going to add to it whatever the mission briefing tells you based on the setup instructions. You can see here for Mission 0A, we have a setup area here that shows 6 more additional loot cards being added into the fray, but one of them, the actual grenade there, has a ×2, so there'll be 2 of those for a total of 7 additional loot cards going in. Here's a look at the 7 cards that I'm going to be placing inside of the basic loot deck. So at the end, you've got basic loot mixed with mission-specific loot. These are all shuffled together, and that creates the loot deck draw pile. Any other loot cards are returned back to the box. Step 9 is all about the area accessory cards. You'll see them if they're listed right on the mission briefing. You'll see for mine, office and storage crates. These are 2 cards we need to grab for this mission. Now you might have a random amount of the exact same one. In those cases, it might actually have you shuffle a number of randomized ones, picking one and adding it into the equation, or it might call for all of them. In either case, it'll tell you exactly what's needed right on the briefing. So 2 of these cards to place for this mission. The office is located right here. And the second one, storage crates, is on the west side of the map. It's going to end up in this room right here. Step number 10 is placing the door tokens. If you're using the cardboard ones, they'll be all laying flat on the game board. Place them exactly as indicated on the battle plan. If you happen to have the miniatures, which will be 3D, and of course add to the immersion of the experience, those are going to pop the game up off the table quite a bit. I'm going to place all of those right now. For this mission, there are a total of 8 doors. The doors have all been placed. There's different variations of what the doors look like. You can place these as you wish. It's worth noting that some missions might have locked doors, and you'll use tokens to denote whether or not the door has been locked or not, and you can actually place those tokens right on the top of the doors as well. For this mission, there is no such thing. All doors are unlocked and able to be moved through if we want to, but they are considered closed to start things off. We'll go ahead and skip over step number 11, as we already did this in step number 9, although 9 looks like it's a mix of accessory cards and also talking about loot cards, and I don't believe that that's necessarily going to be the case in the final version. Those will probably be split apart, and you'll have loot card talk in step 9 and likely area accessory cards in step 11. So we're already done 11, we can move on to 12. Step 12 is all about taking the enemy tokens by color and getting them into stacks. You're going to make sure that you can see this on the top of each one of the tokens in each of the colored stacks, and then we're going to place them based on the battle plan into the mission. Let's go ahead and place the tokens, and it's worth mentioning any that are not placed out inside the mission to start off will be inside of what's known as a reserve, and they'll just stay there until called on later in gameplay. That's going to do it. We got 3 green ones and 3 orange ones. The green ones are primarily at the front section of the map, and the orange ones further deeper in. Step 13 is about the wound tokens. I have placed them inside of a game tray, not part of the prototype or in the final version of the game, just simply to keep things organized. Step 14 will tell you to take all specific tokens as listed per the mission. So in other words, you might have something like a documents token or a set of keys. These are the tokens we're placing right now. And as mentioned before, you'll look at the battle plan to determine exactly where these tokens all go. You can see we have a document token in the office. Now, the document we just placed is a key objective in this mission. We need to get to that office and steal that document and get to the exit with it. On the far right-hand side, you'll see the exit door we must get through with the documents, but we also need to blow up a portal inside of a room in the back area. With the mission tokens placed, let's now place all the miniatures that connect themselves with the mission. So we've got a portal in the back room we have to detonate. There's an alarm mission we need to place next to the mission tracker, and there's also a howler in this mission. As you can clearly see, we have a massive threat in that west room. In the area just in front of the area with the portal is a scientist. There are 4 more miniatures to place. They're all soldiers, and they're all headed to the watchtowers. Now, you'll remember at the beginning of the video when I talked about watchtowers, the watchtowers start on the ground level, which is the level the environment tiles are on. Then they are on top of what's known as a base, and then at the very top of the watchtower is a platform. Here are the watchtowers all assembled, as easy as just going ahead and placing the actual cardboard inside of slots on the grooves of each of these stands. In the final version of the game, they might be a little different. They might be a little shorter. I believe I saw comments around them being around 20 to 33% shorter, but to be completely honest, they're very thematic and certainly make it very obvious that there's individuals in these towers watching over. That's going to do it for all the starting miniatures in the mission. We've got 2 in this watchtower, 1 here and 1 there. Step 16, which wraps up the board setup, is dice. I've placed these nearby. Now, the official end step of board setup is to place your heroes. So normally you'd have your character setup done prior to your board setup, but for the purposes of this demo box and prototype, it made more sense to show the board being set up first, as we only have 4 characters to choose from in this prototype box in the final version of the game. During the character setup, you'll have many more different heroes to choose from, and you'll be doing that character setup first and then the board setup. In the demo kit, I've got Brick, Claudine, Sally, and O'Reilly. All 4 of these are coming into the game right now, and as per the battle plan, they're starting in this area right here. The very first step of the hero setup is to find the dashboards for the hero. I've got all 4 of them around the game table. For each of the heroes, we're going to take 2 weapon tokens, placing them functioning side up on 2 viral weapons with the arrow pointing towards the corresponding non-viral weapon, which is pointed off to the left. Step 3 is to take 2 basic action tokens per hero and place them on their dashboard. That's all there is to it for the hero dashboards. Next, you find the miniatures for your heroes and, of course, place them next to your dashboards until you're done the board setup, but I've done things in reverse. I did the board first, so the miniatures for each of these characters are already placed. Steps 5 and 6 are all about the action cards your hero has. You're going to have 10 hero action cards, which look like this, and you're also going to have 2 exploit action cards, which look like this. The exploit action cards, the 2 on top, you're going to add to your hand right from the start of the game. The remaining 10 cards are going to be shuffled together. It will create your action draw deck, and you're going to draw 2 cards off the top and add them to the 2 exploit cards you already have in hand. So Brick has these 4 cards going into gameplay. And once you've done this for all the heroes, you're done your hero setup. You can grab your reference cards. You'll certainly want to have these cards nearby as you learn the game. You've got the test one up here, effects here. You've got tokens and symbols down below telling you all about each of them. Flipping it over to the opposite side, you have token and effects, and then you have alien tokens down below. Once you get into that, you've got the hero's turn, the enemy's turn, and the upkeep. These are the 3 major phases of the game broken out for you so you know exactly what to do each time, and the exact same thing on the opposite side. Now, the final thing to check is any special rules for the mission that have you giving things specifically to your heroes at the very end of setup. And that would be the case in this mission. We have what is known as the demolition charge, and this card needs to be held by one of the 4 heroes. Now, this is a mission-specific card we need to take down the portal, and one of the characters needs to hold this card, so we have to make that decision at the very beginning of part number 1 in the future. So I'm going to throw this back to you guys right now in the comments down below. Which of the 4 characters that I'm controlling should hold this demolition charge? I'm going to put a vote up in my Discord, which you can find a link to in the pinned comment and video description, as well as in the YouTube post community area. I'll have a vote there as well. And I'll be taking comments here on the video. I'll be pulling them all together to find out who is the most popular of the 4 to hold this demolition charge going into the playthrough. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really hope this was helpful in showing you how this game gets to the table. How it looks, even in its prototype form, is extremely impressive. I'm excited to show you guys exactly how this game flows and operates, so stay tuned to the channel as gameplay lands in the very near future. And as always, keep on rolling solo!